confession I'd like to make before we jump in.
Yeah.
So, do you know that scene in Saltburn where Barry Keoghan drinks Jacob Elordi's bat water?
Yeah.
I did that to you
When?
multiple times when we were living together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Was it tasty?
It was awful, but I just couldn't stop.
Oh.
It was like an addiction, you know? Like,
But I didn't ever, tickle the weasel when I was in the shower, so...
what was I drinking then?
Just soapy, dirty water, I guess.
Explains.
Just, sweaty water.
I was like, why does it taste like shampoo? Is this normal? It was the first I'd ever tasted, so I was like, maybe. Yeah.
It must have been quite bitter.
It was so bad, but I just couldn't stop. It was like a drug addiction, you know? It was just your leftover shampoo. Good to know. Well, we always like to keep it nice and clean here in the podcast, so that's a good little opening there to...
If we were sponsored by
it's family friendly.
A shampoo company, that would be great.
That was our way of leading into it. You could do what Barry Keoghan did with this shampoo. Just pretend it's Jacob Elordi's sperm.
We had a bit of an issue before we started.
Are we going to talk about this?
If you want.
Okay, we had a big fight. No. Disaster.
I mean, it's not that interesting.
It's not that interesting, but it's kind of funny. Maybe if the energy looks different, you'll know why. Or even just the fact that it's darker. Basically, where I work, we have I'm there on my own. We have a little safe where you keep a key. You open the whole building with the key, basically, and the person taking over obviously needs that key to close the building. I came all the way home, which is about a 40-minute train journey from where I live, and the moment I reached into my pockets to open the door to my house, I felt the keys of my workplace. Sebastian was like 20 minutes away.
Yeah, about 20 minutes, and then you obviously
disaster.
Yeah, there was no point me not coming because
you're so close.
Just over an hour to get here.
Yeah, but I had to go back to give that lady the key. And yeah, I mean, for anybody listening from America and from London, you obviously know how annoying getting a train anywhere is. So imagine having to do that journey essentially 4 times. I had to go to work and back 4 times altogether. So yeah, really good fun. I appreciate that you kept yourself free and that we're still able to get this bad boy done. But yeah, as always, welcome to Dillon and Sebastian Have a Simpsons podcast. The podcast myself and Sebastian here do and treat like a child that we nurture and we let it grow and eventually we let it go and it goes off into the world. You know?
It's
motherly.
Going off into the world every week. So keep track of the Instagram and, notifications on Spotify, whatever platform you use, so you know when it comes out.
Exactly. This podcast is only, I guess, 3.5 years old. I'm nervous about the day when it gets puberty and it starts getting, throwing tantrums and stuff.
I was thinking today, may I be cheeky and ask how many questions we got?
We got 3, I think.
Maybe we should just kick it off with one of the questions.
Kick it off one of the questions. That's interesting. Yeah. Hey, I won't turn down you wanting to mix it up. Sure. Yeah. So we have 2 Simpsons-related questions and 1 non-Simpsons one. What do you reckon?
Let's do 1 Simpsons.
I guess the roll into the episode. I mean, this is a good one in kind of theme with the episode too, actually, is our buddy Ollie Miller asked, rank the 5 core family in order from best to worst.
Oh, well, I'm going to put Maggie as worst because obviously Maggie is just not a proper character.
Yeah, really. I still like her, but you can't compare the other 4. Yeah.
Probably Marge.
Yeah.
But just because... obviously Marge is great, but
so far I'm in full agreement with you.
Yeah, character just not quite as good as the other ones.
Yeah, so far I'm in agreement with you, but I think this is where it'll change for us.
Next I was going to go with Lisa.
Yeah.
I'm not, I have nothing against women, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it probably seems like I do. I've just ranked 3 in the bottom.
Yeah, but they're against Homer and Bart, who are both sensational characters.
But obviously, iconic character, and the fact that it was my childhood. Simpsons bed sheets,
of course, t-shirts. I idolized Bart growing up. I thought I was Bart.
Yeah.
Grew up to realize I was Milhouse, as you do. And then, now I'm Principal Skinner.
And then obviously number one, Homer.
Homer Simpson
He
obviously
is one of the best TV show characters of all time.
I mean, he's my favorite fictional character ever, and always will be. Yeah,
there you go.
100%. Yeah, mine would be almost the exact same. I would just switch Lisa for Bart.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love Bart. Don't get me wrong, and that definitely explains that's only happened in recent years. Like growing up, Bart was my favorite, and Lisa probably would have gone before Marge or Maggie. I remember hating her when I was a kid because she's the voice of reason and everything else. But now that I'm older, I can appreciate her differently. Like she's such a well written character, so well rounded, so 3-dimensional. I've heard the writers mention many times in interviews and the commentaries and stuff that they kind of use her to get off their own like political beliefs and stuff like that out, which makes perfect sense because she's the only character you could do that with. But stuff like that just makes her such a kind of unique character, I think.
Bart's art won't be happy.
Bart would be very upset. I know there's no Lisa pages, or at least not one following us yet anyway. I'm sure there must be some. But that's a cool question. But yeah, 100% Homer Simpson number one for me. I had I wouldn't say an argument. It's like a big disagreement with my mom recently. She was talking about her tattoos, and she was saying, "Would I ever like to get a tattoo?" And I was like, "I've always thought about it. And the only thing I can imagine I would like to have on my body forever would be Homer Simpson." Just his face, or like him eating a donut or something Simpsons related because of how much the show has meant to me. And she was like, I would give another 5 years, something like that, before you make that decision. And I was like,
you're 25.
I'm 25 now. I don't think by the time I'm 30 I'll be like, I'm grown to the Simpsons. You know what I mean? I've loved it for the first quarter of my life. I don't think that's going to go away.
Maybe you should get something more symbolic, like a pink donut with a
like a bite taken out of it. That's crossed my mind too, 100%. But I feel like I would like the face of Homer. But I would want to be something a little stylistically different, like not literally just like him smiling or something. But I don't know what that could be.
Because I thought of a SpongeBob tattoo recently, because I was like, I don't know if I want SpongeBob.
You already have Doodlebob.
Doodlebob. I don't know if I want a big SpongeBob. But I was like, the clouds, like the clouds that are made of flowers.
Cool. Yeah,
that'd be really
that's
cool.
So symbolic.
You have like 3 of them just somewhere.
That's cool. Yeah, that's so symbolic. But the right people will know what that is. That's like somebody you can trust. There's someone that's like, SpongeBob. That's cool. I definitely do want to get something. Someday in time, I will have a Simpsons related tattoo on me, 100%. What that would be, I'm not too sure yet. But even Mac Groening's signature has crossed my mind before. I know it's kind of weird.
No, but that'd be awesome. And
it's cool, right?
It could be really small. That's
totally.
Somewhere, I don't know.
Literally just there. You only see if you're looking. Loads of ideas for sure. But anyway, let's jump into this very experimental episode, A Mid-Childhood Night's Dream. This is the second episode of the 35th season, and let us just jump right in. So we see we can already tell from the music and kind of the color and stuff that this isn't really happening. It's sort of a dream. This whole episode is more or less a dream sequence. I've said 75% dream sequence. So we jump in. Marge returns home to a much younger Bart and Lisa, and Bart's insisting on carrying the groceries because he's gotten really strong. And and we see that Lisa drew a picture of her in pudding all over the floor, and it's immediately reminded of me and my brother. Actually, he's only 7 years old. That seems to be a thing that young boys go through around that age, that they think they're the strongest person in the world. You know what I mean? Like there's these giant adults in front of them, but they somehow think they're stronger than them. But they play with a bubble gun that Marge bought them in the backyard, and Marge says to Homer that this is a perfect moment, and she starts crying because she realizes that this all is going to slip away. And we see the baby Bart gets stuck in a bubble, and Marge is trying to save him, but she can't. She then wakes up, and Homer wakes up as well. He said that that Dracula was threatening to sue him. Would have loved to have seen that dream. She says she was sad because she knows her days with the kids are going to end, and Homer understands it's why the last part of a 6-foot party sub is always bittersweet for him. Great line. I thought they did a great job. This is a more serious episode. They did a great job of having Homer be there just a comic relief consistently, so that it's never too serious. You know what I mean? I just thought Homer rounded it all out really well. But he says that Marge looks great, but she's super pale and looks incredibly sick. He says she looks great, but someone like a doctor might be concerned about her pale skin.
Bro, we've all been there.
That level of just pure sickness.
But when you have to tell.
Someone, especially a romantic partner.
If they do look really sick or whatnot, it's put
it very gently.
You do look quite bad, but I don't think you look bad, but I think like someone else might think that.
yeah. Just like I totally, for me, like there was no way you could be anything other than like 100% perfect and beautiful. But trying to think from somebody else's perspective, maybe you could do it going to the hospital.
But obviously, I couldn't possibly.
Yeah, she's like shot in the chest.
Yeah.
You're like, can I just say you look amazing right now? I'm gonna call an ambulance. But Mary says she's just pale from the 3 glasses of rosé that they had last night. And Homer he starts describing their delicious meal that they had, how it was all like wrapped in bacon and stuff. And this is very relatable too. There's nothing worse when you're feeling sick in your stomach and like smelling food or thinking about food. I
love that like food poisoning just doesn't affect Homer.
I know, yeah.
He's so far like
he's too far gone. It just didn't affect him whatsoever. He's happy out. But this makes Marge throw up, and she tells him not to listen as they need to keep the romance alive. And I really thought they missed out on the opportunity for a good gag there. She could have like came out like trying to be all sexy because she was like, we have to keep the romance alive. She could have came out like trying to like start something, but she's clearly really ill.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been really funny. Yeah. Anyway, but she wonders why Homer didn't get sick. But he just says the clinical term is I'm all thrown up. It's a brilliant line. She tells Homer that she has to be well for the bounce-a-thon tomorrow. She has to be well for the bounce-a-thon tomorrow. She falls asleep. In her dream again, she's playing peekaboo with a baby Bart, and cuts to his first day at kindergarten, and he's like struggling to let go of Marge for the first time, and she loses him at a shopping mall. This is going to be hard to describe because it's all like jumping around the place. It's obviously all going on in Marge's head. But when she finds him, he's a young adult now. He's like in his 20s with like a stubble and everything, playing a video game, and he's like, I was just about to beat these mutated houseflies at tennis. We then cut to Homer as an otter. Again, just love what they did with Homer here. Like every time we see him from this point onwards, he's like a different version of Homer. I thought that was so fun and creative. He's an otter. He's playing a didgeridoo. He's like, oh, in the waking world, I'm not great at these. He gets introduced, or Marge gets introduced to her inner Lisa, who remembers everything Lisa ever said to her, exactly the way she heard it. And she tells her that she's currently experiencing lucid dreamy, discovered by a group of doctors from a country somewhere. And Homer says she's as smart as old Sheldon.
You ever had lucid dreams?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, have you?
Yeah, I used to like kind of do practices to get them more.
Is that when you look at like a symbol? So when you fall asleep and you see the symbol?
I never did that.
Oh, that was when I tried before.
The one I did was like before bed, you have to keep checking yourself that you're conscious. So you'd be like counting your fingers and like looking at your hands and being like, yeah, I'm present.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay. And it worked?
Yeah, to be fair, it worked.
Most of the time, yeah.
I never had one where it was like I literally was stuck in the dream. It's like I have to really concentrate to be in the dream.
Yeah.
And I could I'm like completely aware, but I'm like, no, I can feel myself like fading out. I need to concentrate. And
by fading out, you mean like you were going to wake up, or just
okay?
Yeah. That's what I always found is I never practiced it too hard. But I just had dreams before where I suddenly realized I'm in a dream, and then I'll start going crazy and doing whatever I want. But I would always quickly wake up. It'd be like 5 minutes maximum, and then I'm awake. You know what I mean? So yeah, it does obviously take a huge degree of concentration and everything else. I can't imagine it's a good rest though, is it? Because you're obviously super energetic and like.
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
Obviously, your brain's always active, and we have dreams.
That's true.
Multiple dreams a night that we don't
remember. Yeah, it's crazy. We're always dreaming. We just usually don't remember it. It's insane. But yeah, I love Homer's line that Lisa's as smart as old Sheldon. That's what Homer considers like ultimate genius, and he's saying that because he obviously watches young Sheldon, which just makes sense to his character. But she says that she's seeing Homer as an otter because yesterday he was lying in the kiddie pool eating nachos from his belly. He says it's a table that's always with him. She says sometimes he's also a clown. We get a clown version of Homer, a baked potato, and a baked clown potato. And sometimes he's the Property Brothers, which is obviously emerges as the host for them. Yeah. Which made me think something incredibly random. But imagine you're an identical twin brother, and you marry a woman. It must be weird to know that your wife obviously finds your brother attractive.
Well, that's the thing. And they can't lie about it.
No, because no, he's ugly. What do you mean? He looks just like me.
Yeah. Like, they have to just admit, like, yeah, well, obviously he is attractive.
Yeah, of course. But I don't like his personality. You don't like my brother's personality? It's like, there's no winning in that situation.
Also, I know that a lot of identical twins have really similar personalities.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Especially if they grew up together.
Definitely. But then other times it's like completely different.
Yeah.
Like, it's like split, like so different. Like I had these two twins a year ahead of me in school growing up, I remember, and one was like one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet, and was a dickhead. So it's interesting how sometimes they, the exact same, or sometimes polar opposites, It's weird, yeah. It's just a fascinating, weird thing that twins even exist.
It is mad.
You know what I mean? It is mental. It's almost like a glitch in the Matrix or something that they happen. It's so strange. But she starts visualizing all of her thoughts from yesterday in like a file coming out of the oven. And I had to write down all the files because they were hilarious. One was sports are dumb. I have manly thumbs. I don't like pistachios. Is that guy from Dynasty alive? Should have worn layers. What sinks in here? And finally, Bart shouting. And she runs out to Bart. This is Bart as we know him as a 10-year-old. He hurt his hand, and she runs out with a first aid kit, only to realise he just has a splinter. She's upset to see how big his hands have gotten. She starts crying. And Homer comes in again as the author, and he's like, "Oh, so that's why you're having nightmares. Bart is super rude and full of splinters." And she thinks she might be sick from eating hot dogs. And she's like, "Why would Awake Me eat those? That doesn't seem like something Awake Me would do." And maybe this is just like me being a pathetic human being, because what's meant to happen here is that like Marge is like having a downfall. But in my head I was like, she had like hot dogs and rosé last night. It sounds like a great combo. You know what I mean? That sounds like a great evening. Yeah. But Homer says that after booze, you think you can do anything. That he even ended up challenging the valet to an arm wrestle, but it turned out to just be a sign. So great, just consistent great Homer guys. Just like never let it get too serious. I thought it was done very well. She says she's confused as to why she was drinking on a school night, but Homer says she needed one after meeting with Bart's teacher. We didn't see a bunch of Marge's other thoughts. They say, stop interrupting Whoopi. That's obviously Whoopi Goldberg, hosts The View. She's obviously talking about that, like totally a show she would watch. One that says The Rock's butt. Do I have to watch The Wire? No candle is worth that price. And then finally there's a meeting with Bart's teacher. And no candle's worth that price, I agree. Just whatever it was, I agree. Every Christmas I get my mom Yankee candles because she loves them, but my god, it hurts my soul having to pay.
They're really expensive.
They're ridiculous. Yeah, and there's a lot to them. Like, they last you like 6 months or something. They're good, but they're crazy money for wax.
They are a lot.
A jar of wax.
It's it's because they're so popular. And
they're so sought after. Yeah,
I guess
especially at Christmas
they just
time.
did a good job with the branding and everything.
The branding is great.
You could buy any candle, but it's like no, I want a Yankee candle.
Exactly.
And no one says, "Oh, I want a scented candle for Christmas." They go, "I want a Yankee candle for Christmas."
Exactly,
It's one of them brands that now people don't call candles. It's like Yankee.
They say, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, they taken the candle market by storm.
Yeah.
Like, if I got my mom a candle that wasn't a Yankee candle, she'd be like, "Oh, I guess you don't love me." You know what I mean? Because she knows you spent less. Yeah. We then cut to they're having a meeting with Miss Peyton. Again, Kerry Washington returning as this brilliant character. I really like this character. She's saying, Homer says that whatever Bart did, they'll pay to have it cleaned, replaced, or for its therapy. And she says that she's talking to all parents, even the normal kids, and that they're not special. And immediately backs up being like, "Well, Bart is normal, and yeah, you are special." But suggests Marge out at the concept of Bart. Oh yeah, she stresses Marge out at the concept of Bart moving to the 5th grade, as she urges her to buy Bart deodorant as well, as 5th graders may look like children, but they smell like nervous cab drivers. As she freaks out and realizing that 5th grade will be the last year of his childhood. We then cut to her on like a therapist chair, talking to somebody on the therapist chair, talking to them about how Bart was once the sweet one and Lisa was the difficult one. And it turns out that the therapist, again, it's still a dream, the therapist is a baby Lisa, who says it was very advanced that she's going through her terrible twos at only 18 months old. She then wakes up, and we are in the real world now, we're out of the dream. She wakes up and joins the kids for a bounce-a-thon, informing Bart that she was not barfing, it was just loud sloshy burps. It's just disgusting. Then Homer was trying to make some sort of marshmallow treat that Marge obviously usually makes, and in doing so he burnt the rice. He tries to moisten it with eggnog, and this makes Marge throw up. She threw up so much that she thinks she saw a wedding cake. I guess referring to like their wedding 10 years ago. She says Homer suggests she stays home. She says she's miserable to be missing out on the bounce-a-thon, but Homer says that when he does stuff, he has a fear of missing out on missing out, which he calls FOMOMO. Which again I related to for sure. When you're at a party you just don't want to be at, and you're like, I could have stayed home and watched TV and caught up on that series I'm watching. You know what I mean? Just way too relatable. She asks Homer to take a picture of the kids giving a thumbs up for her scrapbook, and he says this, or Bart cuts in saying that he's become known for his crazy comedy photos. Doesn't just want to give like a thumbs up for the photo. He says his fans expect him to do inside out eyelids and scotch tape nose, and asks Marge to respect that this is just how he is this year. And then Marge immediately gets emotional, like how grown up he sounds, and I did immediately kind of note that like that sentence did sound incredibly mature for Bart, like a little bit out of character. Him being like, he's gotta accept this is just who I am this year. It's like he would never regularly say something so mature and so grown up, but it's served the plot. It's no big deal. We then cut to another dream. An action hero, Homer, is helping Marge away from a bear, but she says she doesn't need the symbolism. She says she should have treasured every time that Bart held her hand because she can't remember when he stopped. And then Lisa in the dream, tells Marge that parents are like bows and the children are like arrows that get shot forth, and the arrow shouldn't get sad when they see how far the arrow flies. Really beautiful analogy, and the animation there describing that was done very, very well. And Homer tries to relieve her, saying that she still has Lisa and Maggie, but this just stresses her out even more. Imagine that she's going to go through this whole thing 2 more times. She then watches a brilliant animation, watches like the sitting room explode, like all items related to the kids are like floating around, like the saxophone and the skateboard and stuff. Really, really well done. And she sees Bart at a playground, like taking silly pictures of himself, and she tries to get in, but the gates won't open for her. And she turns into a skeleton, and she's like, okay, maybe I'm being a little bit negative. We then cut to a dog version of Homer trying to relieve Marge after her brain hurricane, and Marge says that when the kids all leave the nest, she'll have to kill her days with mindless hobbies. And she's like, I don't want an Etsy storefront. And Homer's like, it's not happening now, so there's no need to be sad about. There's no need to be sad about it now. It's like going to work on time. There's no point. And like until the end, like actually a beautiful point. It's like it's not happening at the moment, so what's the point of stressing about it? Actually really beautiful and profound.
It does make me think as well, like, if you're on a salary-based job, can you just, like, I wonder how often you could get away with being late.
I mean, I was thinking about that because a buddy of mine had to take, like, 2 days sick last week, and he's on a salary, and I asked him about that, and he was like, oh, yeah, it's fine, like, you have a certain amount of sick pay, so you can just take it. I'm like, oh, so you literally just have the exact same money at the end of the month, and you didn't. So
I'm
jealous.
As well figure out like what's the maximum amount of sick days I can
without
take.
Anybody saying anything.
What's the maximum amount of time I can be late?
Yeah, why wouldn't you abuse that?
How many toilet breaks can I go on at work?
Exactly. Yeah, how many coffee breaks can I take? Yeah, like why wouldn't you abuse that when you can? Like abuse the system.
I saw some guy online figure out like how many. He like took a bunch of toilet breaks every day and like figured out how many days of work he wasn't in from just the toilet breaks.
Oh, it must have been insane.
I think it was like 3 or 4 days.
God, yeah,
would take the piss.
Especially if especially if you're consistently drinking water, like you need to pee a lot, So I love that. But he shows Marge that while Bart was done with the whole bounce-a-thon thing. I should probably explain what the bounce-a-thon is as well. It's just like a racing competition, but they're on like space hoppers. Is basically what it was. In case anyone listening hasn't seen the episode, Bart was totally done with it, but he points over to Lisa and sees how excited Lisa is, and that she was being so negative that she didn't realize how happy Lisa was. But then Marge is like, oh, she'll probably hate it next year as well. And Wiggum just comes in and is like, ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to step out of the darkness, please. And he says that he thinks he's here in Marge's dream because she's secretly attracted to him. Great little Wiggum bit. He says the uniform may have caught her attention, or his low orb of gravity, or maybe his thick, syrupy voice. And Marge is like, I don't think so. If anything, I'm into Eddie. He's like, yeah, he's a beautiful man. Nice to get a little bit of redemption for Eddie there, who's always like the third, like, you know, the least seen police officer. That's like one of his biggest moments in the whole show, I think, and he's not even in it. Ironically. She insists on going to the bounce-a-thon before Lisa's childhood stops, and she wakes herself up. And again, this is actually in the real world. This isn't a dream anymore. She goes into the car, but she throws up listening to a commercial for Joey's mayonnaise sandwiches, where the mayonnaise is thicker than the bread. Great ad. Imagine that texture, just so disturbing. She then ruins the car, like throws up all over it. She rents a scooter, and she has to enter like an account name, but Bounce Mom is taken, Barf Mom, and Borf Mom. Then she just tries Marge, and that's fine. And on the way over, she throws up into several front gardens as well. She gets to the school. One of my favourite bits, just Skinner wearing the wig. He's wearing a really funky wig. He's wearing it in celebration of 30 lice-free days. And he just starts itching it. This is such a dumb, quick little bit. She then tells the parents that she has the plague, so they all get out of the way. She can cut straight through. Then she smells like bacon-wrapped hot dogs being barbecued, and that makes her faint. She wakes up and we find out she only managed to get like a very blurry picture of Lisa and a selfie of her passed out. She was like, how do I take a picture passed out? And Miss Peyton is like, they had to pry the phone from her hands. And she says she remembers Marge getting very quiet at their parent-teacher meeting after she mentioned middle school. But she says she never said anything. She never said anything else apart from asking for happy hour over at Tuesday O Friday Hands. When I heard that, I was like, is Tuesday O Friday Hands like the name of a real place? I looked it up and nothing came up. I'm guessing it's just like a play on TGI Fridays.
Must be.
Yeah. It's Tuesday or Friday. It's just ridiculous. She realizes that it was a dream and she should have noticed because Miss Peyton was 7 feet tall. And then she goes, and you didn't say I need to buy Bart deodorant. It's like, oh no, I did mention that. Strong deodorant. She then says that Bart has plenty of childhood left, as he doesn't even know his right from his left. And we then get her last dream where the real Homer is not like a crazy version of Homer. The real Homer asks if she's feeling better, and she says she missed a photo, but Lisa was really happy to see her, so for now she's happy. And she says Homer says that Bart could knock up his high school girlfriend and she'll have grandkids before Maggie starts kindergarten. Marge just goes, oh, wouldn't that be nice? She then wakes herself up and she's looking like nice and healthy again, and they get a photo of Bart crossing the finish line and like mooning with like 2 balloons, I think. And Marge says the photo was perfect, and Bart takes her hand and they go to the dunk thing, the dunk, the teacher that he hates. That's a
great moment. I mean, that's a great
Beautiful.
moment because you can also imagine that's probably what Homer would be doing instead.
Yeah, true.
Like
he'd want to be the one.
That behavior.
Yeah. And Marge was doing it, just trying to get on his side more. Yeah, that was beautiful. It also made me think like, we see these in like American like movies and TV shows a lot. Like, I would have loved that as a kid. That was a thing at like the school fairs. You could just like dunk your teacher. Yeah, that would be so therapeutic. I loved as well that it was like his kindergarten teacher, or not his kindergarten, his PE teacher, who we've seen many times in the past that he does actually hate. So like, there's good attention to detail there.
Also, I forgot to say, when Homer was making that joke about like Bart having a kid when he's really young, like knocking up his high school girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
I think an episode in like
of that
would be really interesting.
That would be good, yeah. In like an alternate universe, you wouldn't want that to be canon.
Like
but
what could happen if Bart knocked up someone?
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Because he makes sense as a kid that would happen to, like a 16 and pregnant type story. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe like Kemp Brockman hosts some sort of like teen mom show or something and follows him around. That'd be really cool, yeah. Because that's something different for them to do. Why not? Like the show's going to go on forever. Why not experiment with something like that?
Yeah.
And just have it not be canon, like, yeah. But yeah, and they Bart and Marge take hands and they stroll off together, and Marge is like, on the way home, let's go deodorant shopping. And I thought a really beautiful, like, slow piano rendition of the theme song played over the credits as well. Yeah, beautifully done. Yeah, wonderful episode, I thought.
Yeah, really good. And did you wear deodorant at school?
I feel like I'm probably in a similar situation as Bart, where like I left it off for maybe like a little bit too long. It was definitely starting to smell. It was just like
I probably actually got it too early.
Too early, into the opposite.
Yeah, I can't wait to wear deodorant.
It's so interesting.
Cool. Africa.
I never wanted. Interesting. I never wanted deodorant. I think it's one of those things that my mom didn't want to buy it for me because, you know, she definitely mollycoddled me when I was a kid, and it was like admitting that I need deodorant is like admitting I'm growing up, you know. But I use it now. I swear. It shows, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Final feelings.
Yeah, no, I love this episode.
Wonderful.
I didn't really feel like we needed another Marge episode where she's longing for the kids because they're growing up and she's scared of that.
Sure.
However, they actually did a really good job of making it feel original.
I thought so.
Really great. And
yeah.
I love the experimenting with the animation. Like it was so abnormal. And like for what is essentially a filler episode, this felt like they really put the effort into it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that, and it's like a classic TV plot, but they did a really good job at executing it.
Yeah. Good point.
So I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Awesome. Yeah, nice. That's a good point. I never thought about that. Like, yeah, the basic concept of this episode is a very common thing in like family sitcoms. Like, the mom being worried about the kids growing up and fretting over that, but they did do a very unique thing with that definitely kind of overdone and basic concept. They did something very unique with it.
I'm currently rewatching Sopranos, and there's literally an episode with that concept.
Oh, really? So, okay, yeah. Wow. Is it good?
Yeah.
So this is Sopranos. Yeah, I'd imagine it's strong writing. But yeah, I gave it an 8.5. I said I thought it was heartbreaking, but in a really beautiful way. I thought that it felt like a real love letter for like the care and love that a mother puts into her children. I thought it was just conveyed very beautifully. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I don't know what it's like to be a mother, but like I definitely felt for Marge in the situation. You know what I mean? I thought it was done very, very well. I thought there was great Homer gags throughout, and his many transformations helped lighten the mood of the episode overall.
Yeah, Homer was like, even though he wasn't one of the main characters, he was very needed.
Absolutely.
Like,
he was perfectly put in there because Marge is the main character, and I guess it'd be Bart and Lisa next because it's about her struggle for them growing up. So Homer's definitely the least important of the main four, but he's put into it very, very well. I thought.
It was a really interesting idea to make him like
like the different
Jiminy Cricket character.
That's a good point. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's kind of like like Timon and Pumbaa. Like Mushu, he's like that character in the episode. That's so true. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. He is literally just like the person who's kind of trying to be a voice of reason for Marge, but he's also there for comic relief.
Changing into different.
He's literally different animals. Yeah, he's an otter at one point, a dog, and everything. Yeah, that's so true. But yeah, finally, I said I love that this was a deep, profound Marge episode that did like a really deep exploration to her character without having to mix it up for her in any way. My point being that like there's lots of great Marge episodes, but like they usually have to like have her get obsessed with something a little bit out of character to make her interesting, whereas this was just exactly who she is as we know her. You know what I mean? Yeah, she just loves being a mother, but they did something very unique with that, I thought. Yeah, really, really wonderful episode. It just set a good precedent for what I hope is to come, because we had like a fun, like your kind of typical Simpsons episode with Homer's Crossing last week, and then this week is something more experimental and different.
Exactly,
you know? Yeah, like that's the mix that I love when you can
started off really strong.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 2 really solid episodes. But yeah, let's jump into the news. Unfortunately, I only have I have 2 pieces, but the main one is unfortunately sad. But I have to report all Simpsons news, so I have to report the sad ones too. Is that the Simpsons ride in Universal Studios Florida is being closed down?
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't hear about this, no?
No.
Super, super upsetting, yeah. Basically, and look, I had a feeling that it was going to happen for a while, but I just didn't want to believe that it would happen. Because obviously Disney bought the company years ago. I mean, bought Fox years ago. Universal has no rights to The Simpsons. And apparently they've been trying to close it for years. So, yeah, I'm not, there hasn't been an exact date set as to when, but it is going to go away eventually. And the rumor is going to be replaced with a Pokemon Land. Which is, you know, Pokemon Land sounds cool, but I obviously would never like anything more in the Simpsons area. My only hope can be that they're doing this because they want to bring some cool Simpsons stuff into the Disney parks. I would really hope.
It must be.
Yeah, fingers crossed. They're hardly getting rid of it and just not doing anything with the Simpsons in Disneyland. That'd be ridiculous, yeah. you would hope that they would take the advantage to do something even bigger at Disneyland. You know,
I think they will.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Like, okay, you lost that, but we're doing an even bigger Springfield here. You know, yeah, fingers crossed. Definitely very upsetting news. Have very, very fond memories of visiting that place. God, back in Halloween 2013. So I would have been 15, and just still like think back to that. It's just like such a wonderful day. Like I was in my element. Like so.
Literally.
Yeah. So yeah, it will be missed. Very, very upsetting. No news about the one in Hollywood that you've been to yet. That's still currently standing, but I would imagine it will go as well eventually. Unfortunately, look, it is what it is. Not everything was built to last forever. But just I didn't want that to be the only piece of news that was so sad. Is I found like a fun article to wrap up the news segment. Is a site called Digital Trends, the top 10 underrated episodes, which I thought was cool. Just interesting. Usually these underrated episodes they do like later season episodes, but this was actually like episodes mainly from the earlier seasons. Just they felt like don't get their dues as much as other earlier season ones do. A few later seasons in here as well though. Number 10 was Eternal Moonshine of Simpsons' Mind, in season 19, which I mentioned many times. Great, deep explanation for Homer, brilliantly done, where he takes a forget-me shot, and the family are all gone. He doesn't know where they went. Really great episode. Number 9, Brick Like Me, season 25. That's the Lego one. Beautiful exploration of Homer and Lisa's relationship in that one. Number 8, I definitely agree with this one. The Mysterious Voyage of Homer, season 8, which is the one with the chili. Which is like it's held in a high regard, but you would never see in like best episodes of all time list. And for me, it would be definitely top 10. So
yeah,
totally agree.
And I wouldn't like think to bring it up really.
No.
Like, so
yeah, exactly. It's not like your classic Simpsons formula, so it can be kind of easy to forget. But you remember it, and you're like, "Oh, that was fantastic!" You know, I think it's so good. Number 7, Two Bad Neighbors, which is the one for George Bush moves next door. I don't agree with that. That's one I just always forget about. But again, when I think about it, I'm like, that episode is so fun. And it's so stupid, like in the best way.
That is a fantastic episode.
Yeah, him in the sewer, like fighting George Bush. It's just so brilliant. Number 6, Itchy and Scratchy Land, season 6. Again, wonderful episode.
Though, I wouldn't say is underrated.
You think? Yeah, there's some...
quite a popular...
Yeah, again, it's one that it's held in a high regard, but I think it just never pops up on like best episode lists.
I'm not mad about it, but it is a great episode.
Yeah, no, really, really solid. Number 5, I definitely haven't mad about this one personally, is Radioactive Man from season 7. I wouldn't quite agree with that one.
Yeah.
As far as season 7 goes, that's a fantastic season. That's one of the weaker ones for me personally.
It's just a fine, good episode.
It's fine and good. Yeah, good fun, but yeah, not amazing. Number 4, I think I'd agree with this, is Sarah's Burns, season 6.
Of course.
Yeah, again, popular, but never pops up in lists.
Does it not?
No, and one thing I kind of discovered recently is that a lot of people criticize it without seeing it because they assume it's bad because it's a crossover with another show. But the crossover just doesn't matter. Like I've never seen that show, The Critic, and I don't need to. Like I get who this character is perfectly from the show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If you never knew about The Critic, it wouldn't matter.
He
fits into the episode perfectly.
I
watched it loads of times as a kid. I loved it. Yeah, he fits into the episode perfectly into the whole dynamic of Springfield. Number 3, Lisa's Substitute. Again, kind of like doesn't pop up in best episodes of all time list, but still like held in a pretty high regard, I think, and deservedly so.
Yeah,
I think.
It's a great one.
Amazing episode.
Good, deep episode. Yeah.
Oh, so great. Yeah. Number 2, Lisa's Wedding. Again, season 6, one that I would just forget about, and you watch and you're like, oh yeah, this is amazing. I mean, it's the first future episode, so really great. And number 1, Springfield Files, season 8.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, I agree. Yeah, it's my second favorite episode.
And you know what? It is underrated because people do not talk about that episode.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the same thing. People are like, "Oh, it's the crossover with the X Files. It's cheap." And again, it doesn't matter that it's them. You know what I mean?
A crossover.
No, I mean it's the voice actors and they are playing. It's the same actors and they are playing Mulder and Scully. But like, I love that episode growing up. I had no clue the X Files was. I still haven't seen the X Files. Me liking that episode has nothing to do with the fact I'm a fan of the X Files. I've never seen it. They just fit in very perfectly into the whole dynamic of the episode and stuff very well, I think. Yeah, that was a fun little list. So let's jump into Seb's Classics.
Yeah, so I went for a later season than normal. So
I
went for season 15.
This may be the furthest back we've gone yet. This is the last episode of season 15.
I have a feeling I did a season 17 one.
Oh, maybe. Oh, actually, you're right. The Ricky Gervais one.
Yes.
I'm wrong. Yeah, you have gone further.
So I did Fraudcast News.
Yeah.
Which is the last episode of season 15.
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, yeah, alright, like, it's probably good. Like, I remember that, I was just like, yeah, I think that one's alright. And I watched it last night, and I was like, actually, this is great.
Oh, it's great, yeah. And
I
obviously,
loved it.
This is a centered around Mr. Burns.
Yes,
episode,
of course.
Which you can't go wrong with.
You can't, no.
He basically... Oh, what happens? So...
this...
How does it start?
This rock collapses onto Mr. Burns, and the whole town assumes he's dead.
Yeah.
He crawls out by some ridiculous process of eating bugs, and then was it an otter's milk?
I think so.
like of a mother otter, the milk of it, and that gave him enough strength to escape through all the rocks. So tough.
And obviously the whole town had gutted, not that he died, that the rock got destroyed.
I love when he's watching Kent Brockman reporting on like, an ancient relic passed away today, like, oh, here we come, a beloved ancient relic. And it's like assumed to be 1,000 years old. Like, I have been 89 for a few years now. So great.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't yawning at
that. I know.
I had a long weekend.
As did I. Yeah, no, go on.
But yeah, and then so he comes back, and obviously he's very mad that people don't appreciate him. Everyone's actually more happy that he's gone.
I love the bit as well where Overletty and Carol are all like in like white suits and top hats and canes, like they're gonna go dance at his grave.
That's the funniest bit. Just Homer like, oh, you ready to dance on Mr. Burns' grave? Like, what a sense.
Ridiculous. Like they rented out suits or something. They looked really expensive, and for some reason Mr. Burns is coming out of the cemetery. It's like, oh, whose grave are we dancing on? And they all just like back away. It's so dumb.
And he
to make himself look good, he buys like all the media in Springfield.
Exactly. Yeah. He starts with the newspaper, and then Lisa rivals this newspaper with her own one.
Yeah,
because she came up with really good poetry,
mm-hmm.
Which was really cool. We saw like a conflict, even though they never really came face to face.
We did have that one great scene where she comes to the power plant because he wants to buy the newspaper, and she says no, and then he's like, oh well, then get out of here. And she's like, oh, my mom isn't picking me up for an hour, and they both just like stand there awkwardly. And he's like, so what do you think of today's popular music scene? Like, oh, I think this track's more important issues. It's like, my god, are you always on?
The fact that Mr. Burns is like, do you ever have fun?
Yeah, him of all people is like, come on. I love that. But yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's the one bit that we see them together. Yeah. The rest of the conflict is like, they don't cross paths.
No, it's just manipulation. And
exactly.
I love that his way of like asking a youth a question is, so what do you think of today's modern music?
It's so good. Yeah, what a great Mr. Burns question.
One of my favourite moments was the Itchy and Scratchy.
Oh, episode. So good, yeah.
It's just like extreme propaganda. And it just basically becomes like, oh, so this orphanage wouldn't be powered without
the nuclear power plant,
and this hospital wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Then Mr. Burns comes in as like an eagle. He's like, "Remember, kids, nuclear power is your friend." So dumb.
And I think my favorite part of the whole episode was when Lenny and Carl are drinking at the bar.
Oh yeah, and that's like, great.
Oh, we have time to sit and think for a bit, and then Mo just comes over and starts whipping them. Like, those drinks ain't gonna drink themselves. To drinking more.
Let's think of more drinking, and he whips him with his bar rag. So good. They're just like both just thinking for a few seconds, like so ridiculously, because the newspaper made them think that maybe Mr. Burns isn't so great. I don't have to mull over this. That scene's great. It's a great showcase of like how you can have a scene that like, because of how great the ensemble of Springfield is. That scene was not important at all to the episode, but it was such a fun, quick little scene. Like you would not take it out,
and you didn't feel like you were taken away from the story or anything.
No, because it's just a great fun moment. Yeah, he just whipping them with the rags because they're not drinking.
And I always this episode in particular, it just really made me think about the whole Burns and Smithers dynamic
because he had the tattoo that he didn't get to show him,
and I just find it like so
number one boss. I know. It's so disturbing. I love the bit as well at the end where like he gives in and he sells he gives up all the media, And he's looking over Springfield and he's like, oh, well, maybe one man can't run all of media. Unless, of course, you're Rupert Murdoch. And he looks at the screen. He's like, what a beautiful man. And Slither says as well. He's like, I couldn't agree more. And Rupert Murdoch being the man who runs Fox, obviously. That was such a great moment. And their faces facing the screen is so disturbing. But it's so intentionally done.
It's mad. Like, I do think an episode that was, like, slightly political... And they literally call out the guy that owns Fox.
I know.
Newspapers.
Yeah.
And they air it. It's
crazy. It's wild. It's wild, but it's done really well. It's really clever. I actually think watching it last night is the most I ever appreciated it. Because when you said that, I was like, yeah, it's alright. And I watched it. I'm like, this is so well written. It's funny. It has a good message. It's also another kind of Simpsons episode, I think, where it's kind of ahead of its time. You know, like the bit at the end where they're all bringing out newspapers. It's like, oh great, now everyone gets to have their own opinion that they can plaster onto the whole world. But this episode would have been like 2003, 2004, so it would have been before social media.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what social media became. I'm surprised no one's kind of copied this yet. You could easily say, oh, The Simpsons
predicted it.
Yeah, you could. Like, I'm surprised no one has yet, because that scene does kind of... I'm sure there were things like this back in 2004, but it's definitely so much more potent now than it was back then. It's like similar to the Homer Badman. It's like they were ahead of the curve. Like, and I think, obviously I don't believe all these myths of like the Simpsons writers being time travelers and stuff like that. But I think it's just a testament to how clever they are as writers, as people, that they get to spot these things before they completely came into fruition. You know,
100%.
Yeah, I thought this episode was wonderful. As I said, I appreciated. I would say 10 times more watching last night than I ever did before. I just thought it was well written, really fun. The ensemble was used brilliantly, and great dynamic between Burns and Lisa, which is such a great duo to have against each other, because Mr. Burns is obviously just totally lacking in morals, whereas Lisa always wants what's best for the greater good.
The least morals and the highest morals.
Yeah, exactly. So great people to have cross against each other.
Yeah, I did give it an 8.5, but I think now talking about it, I'm going to go up to a 9.
I'd agree. I'd give it a 9 as well. Yeah, just great ensemble work done throughout, as I said, and I just you can never. There's no bad Mr. Burns episode. I can't think of one. He's just such a brilliant character. I think the fact that it always makes so much sense to me hearing the writers say that he's like a lot of their favorite characters to write for, because he can say anything. Yeah, of course, he can say anything because he has no morals, and he's also a millionaire, so he can do anything. So it's like just totally freeing to write.
Really have a lot of freedom.
Exactly. So it just goes to show how they haven't ran out of ideas for him. You know, this is season 15. Like, you still have a great Mr. Burns plot line that you're almost surprised that they didn't think something like that earlier. Him running all of the media, because it just makes perfect sense. Yeah, brilliant episode.
Really, yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on to my new segment, which I'm calling, I forget the name of it now, Keep It Short. I was trying to find it, sorry. This is a segment where I'm just going to cover all of the original Tracy Ullman Show shorts of The Simpsons, with the first one last week. This is the second one, even quicker than the first one. This is literally only 1 minute and 30 seconds long, so this will be a breeze, but definitely an interesting one, even cruder than the first one in terms of animation and stuff. Very interesting watch.
You should send these to me so I can watch them before as well.
Good idea. Let's definitely do that next time. Yeah, great idea. So we can do this together. It's also going to be very quick coverage anyway. It's just called Watching TV. Original air date was May 3rd, 1987. And it's literally just Bart and Lisa watching TV. The commercial comes on, and as the commercials are happening, they start fighting each other, which I remember doing with my cousin when I was a kid as well. Whenever the commercials would come on, we would get to something crazy, and as soon as the show came back on, we would just go quiet again. So they did remind me of that for sure. And then Maggie tries to change the channel, and they start roaring at her. I noted that the voices sounded quite crude, especially Bart. They clearly just haven't found it yet. So it's so interesting seeing the early origins of this. And the final bit is just it cuts to, and the family are all gathered together now watching the TV. And Homer, again, just so out of character now from how we know him to be, is he goes, "Boy, here we are, the whole family, getting to know each other, exchanging ideas, stories, and laughs, bonding together as only a tightly knit family can." And Bart goes, "Dad, stop, the show's back on." "Oh yeah." It's just great. Like, this is what a weird, like, that's like the first monologue Homer's ever had, and it's not anything like how the character will go on to be. He would never say that now. Marge, maybe. Never Homer.
I just can't get over how good your old school Homer impression is.
It's funny because it will never serve me.
No.
I can never do anything with that.
Like, it's not really a good party trick to be like, oh, I can do season 1 and Tracy Ullman show Homer.
Yeah. Like, most people be like, oh, you can just do like Homer Simpson voice. Like, no, I can do the old Homer. Like, wait, do it? Hey, Marge, we're going out for frosty chocolate milkshake. It's like,
that's terrible.
That's not Homer Simpson.
And
ridiculous.
You know what? This like short is so relatable as well because we all found ourselves watching TV. Like, I do it all the time. I know you do. You
Guilty. Yeah. We literally have a podcast about watching TV, so guilty is charged. Alrighty, let's jump on to recommendations of the week. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors. Hey, always me. I actually have 3 this week.
Wow.
What do you want to think I'm crazy
I have
for?
1.
Well, maybe I'll do 2, then you do.
I think of 1 in the meantime.
Nice. Yeah, I know 3 might be overkill, but the way I feel is like recommendations of the week should always be something we're feeling passionate about. You know what I mean? And I feel like if I left one until next week, I wouldn't be feeling as passionate about it anymore. Really? You know what I mean? Yeah. So the first one I went for is The Holdovers. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Have you not heard of it? You don't seem to know what it is. It's Paul Giamatti. He won the Golden Globe for it. He's nominated for an Academy Award now.
Oh.
A beautiful movie. It's made by Alexander Payne, same guy who made like Sideways, about Schmidt. Beautiful, brilliant director. It's a beautiful film. It's designed, like he designed the whole movie intentionally to look and feel like it was made in the 70s.
Oh, I think I did see.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I saw something.
The trailer or something.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, man. Like not just that it's set in the 70s. It literally looks and feels like a movie that was made in the 70s, and he just nailed it in that regard. And it's also just a beautiful film about like. Basically, it's Christmas time, and they're all people who have to stay in their university for one reason or another, and none of them like each other, and they're just kind of stuck there at Christmas time together. But they like grow and like learn so much about each other. It's just like a beautiful celebration of like the human spirit and how you never know someone fully until you really get to know them. It's a really beautiful message, just so well written, and Paul Giamatti is sensational in it. I would not be mad if he won the Oscar over Cillian Murphy, personally.
Wow, okay.
I would go for Cillian Murphy before him, just because I would love to see a fellow Irish actor win. And he's amazing in Oppenheimer, don't get me wrong, but I won't be mad if Paul Giamatti wins instead, basically. Yeah, wonderful movie. Should I give my second one, then you? Yeah, sounds good. Finch, a movie from 2021 that I just kind of fell off my radar. I had Apple TV again, and I decided to just give it a go. Brilliant. It's like a dystopian sci-fi with Tom Hanks in like a, what do you call the thing in Breaking Bad that Walter and Jesse cook in? Like a camper van.
Okay.
It's
RV.
An RV. Yeah. It's Tom Hanks in one of those, and it's literally just him, a robot, and a dog. There's no other humans in it other than Tom Hanks, and such a sweet, wonderful movie. Basically, there's this huge apocalypse, and Tom Hanks knows he's going to die, and his dog will outlive him. So he makes this robot to train. He trains this robot to try and make him as human as possible, so he can then take care of the dog. It's such a sweet, simple, wonderful story, and towards the end, just like tears, just done really, really beautifully. Tom Hanks.
I never heard of this film.
Oh, it totally fell off the radar. It was meant to get like a theatrical release. And then because of COVID, it got pushed back. They only released it onto Apple TV. And as you can probably imagine, I'd imagine why it didn't get recognized that much. A dystopian film is probably not what people wanted during COVID.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so it kind of just went off the radar. But it's genuinely a wonderful movie, very well written. And Tom Hanks is just great in those kind of parts. Just like those everyman parts of this guy that you're rooting for, who's just a complete sweetheart. You know? Yeah, he did it beautifully. Really, really wonderful movie.
Nice.
But yeah, what's your rec then?
Yeah, so have you heard of the podcast Diary of a CEO?
I have, yeah. Who's that again?
I can't remember his name. It's I think it's Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah, Stephen Bartlett. Yeah. No, I have heard of it. Yeah, I know a lot of people love this podcast.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. I would recommend that anyway. But,
nice. A particular episode.
Yeah, I wanted to recommend an episode about coffee. So I'm sure if you just search like Diary of a CEO coffee expert, it will come up.
Nice.
So this guy called James Hoffman, who's a British guy, and he won Barista of the World in Best Barista in the World in 2007.
Okay.
Which is like, I don't really know how they even judged that.
Yeah, it must be a competition that people like enter. Yeah.
And he talks about like the science behind coffee and the history behind coffee, and
fascinating.
What I like find interesting is people often, if I ever try and talk to them about coffee, are like, it's such a boring thing to talk about. Like, coffee is just coffee. But I'm like, it's really not. Like,
no, the culture and the history behind coffee.
The world is like centered around coffee. Like a lot of coffee is responsible for a lot of things, and it's responsible for the growth of how quick the world has grown as well, in my opinion.
Sure, I never thought about it like that, but I don't disagree with you.
You'll know, obviously, if you listen to the podcast, it's really like informative about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, he talks about the science of it, and he talks about like the best way to drink coffee, and like what time to drink coffee, and it just really like changes your perspective.
I feel like I could do with knowing that.
Yeah, I know there was this Joe Rogan podcast episode where a guy was talking about coffee, but I can't remember who that guy is. But this podcast and episode, highly recommend if you like coffee in any way at all, or are interested in how it's changed the world.
Yeah, sure.
Listen to this podcast.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely. What was the name of this guy again? This episode?
James Hoffman.
James Hoffman. So just look up like James Hoffman, Diary of a CEO, and that'll pop up.
Probably.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, awesome. My final recommendation then is this new sort of game show called After Midnight. Very interesting, kind of first of its kind, I think. I've been obsessed with it recently because they have just like little clips of it on YouTube. It's hosted by this fantastic American comedian called Taylor Tomlinson, who's really been blowing up recently. He has 2 fantastic specials on Netflix. He has another one coming out soon, but she's the host of the show. You can watch the full episodes of it on Paramount Plus if people want to do that. Otherwise, just watching snippets on YouTube is fun too. That's how I'm doing it. But basically, it's a kind of like an American comedian version of a panel show, but I've never really seen before.
Okay.
But really, really fun. And basically, it's kind of like the same way that I think Castro's Countdown has done that. Like, there is a game, and they do get points, but like, it doesn't really matter. It's more just about having fun and having a laugh, you know? But basically, there's like show them trends on the internet, and they have to make fun of it. And like, it's always 3 contestants, and the points go to who makes the best jokes about the trend, basically. It's super entertaining. She's a fantastic host, and I've just been having great fun watching it.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's been all over my algorithms. I've just been having it's so different to any sort of panel show or game show I watched before, so it's just really fun, like addictive. Like they put up in like 5-minute clips, so they're like just fun, quick, easy watches. Yeah, really fun. Cool. After Midnight, highly recommend. You can check it out on YouTube or Paramount Plus if you have that. Yeah. Cool. Let's wrap it up with our final 2 questions then.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we've a Simpsons one and a non-Simpsons one. I think the non-Simpsons one is stupid. So let's do that one first. Is Jack Tyak said, "Who are you gonna have? When are you gonna have that Jack guy back on? He was cool." We've had a lot of people reach out wanting to be guests on it. The main thing for me, if I want to be completely honest, is I have enough of a struggle. Not as a struggle, it's just it takes a bit of work to get our schedules in order to do a podcast. 100%. So anytime we've had a guest, it's only been twice, Dave, Lynch, and Jack, it's been a lot of extra work that usually pushes the podcast back, just trying to get 3 people's schedules together.
It is difficult.
Yeah, and for me,
I've even had a few people, and I've been
really,
like, well, you know, if you want to come up to London, and
they're not people aren't in London.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I have a
Brightonians.
I have a friend who really loves The Simpsons, and he wants to get involved. So I said,
cool.
Obviously, if he ever came up to London, he can. But that's the thing; it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Because
it's tricky.
Already, our schedules are a bit of a mismatch. And
adding a third person to the mix, it complicates things. I'm totally down to have more guests. It's just one of those things. Like, it's tricky, and you know,
obviously we'd arrange it, but don't just say you want to
and then expect me to do all the work. That's the thing. 100%. It's like, when can I be a guest and just leave it to me to have to do all the scheduling and everything else, you know? It's like, give me a day, give me something, give me like, I'm free Fridays, you know what I mean? That sounds a bit cheap. That is kind of the reason why I haven't had many guests on since then, though. It is just kind of a lot to schedule, and I like to bring these out as much as we can, and it always just ends up being a thing that we have to push it back when we're waiting for our schedules to align with a third person. It just makes things tricky, but we're definitely down to have guests in the future. And our final question comes from Shan Ryan, a girl I went to uni with. I haven't heard from in ages, so thank you for the question. She just said, worst episode.
Oof.
Yeah, right? Interesting.
I
feel like for you, it must be one that we've reviewed.
I mean, yeah, it's probably the season 33 first episode.
Yeah. Start of the Backstage.
Start of the Backstage, there you go. And I don't want to I hate having to give a new episode a bad opinion.
No, we have to be honest too.
The podcast is about getting people into new Simpsons.
Yeah, and most of it is great, but that is one that if someone watched that,
honestly, they'd
be like, "You like this?" Because it's bad.
If I had to, it's one of the episodes where if I have to get put through watching that again, I think I would actually maybe have to shoot myself.
I know, it's so only 20 minutes, but it's that Roger Ebert quote of no good movie is too long and no bad movie is too short. It's those 20 minutes are actually rough to get through because it's just such bad episodes.
And then the music scores
are just not well done, which is insane because the Simpsons have done hundreds of great songs, but none of the songs in that episode are well written. That episode is definitely, I would probably say top 3, but my number 1, and I've said it before, is the Lady Gaga episode.
Fair enough.
That episode makes me sad, and absolutely nothing on Lady Gaga. I think she's very talented. It's just a poorly written episode. She's not put into the show well. The whole plot line about Lisa getting cyberbullied, I think, is just written very badly, and it feels like the writers don't know what they're talking about. It's all just very cringe, and it's highly considered to be the worst episode of the show by a lot of people. So I'm not, preaching to people who don't believe that here or anything. This isn't an unpopular opinion, but yeah, for me, that's number 1. Saturday Backstage is up there. I would also put the Elon Musk episode up there, which I'd imagine is just even worse now, considering how bad his image is.
Yeah.
Those, honestly, at the top, there's other episodes I don't like, don't get me wrong, but those two episodes are the only ones I can think of, I genuinely, I just can't stand them. Which is, when you consider that there's 750 plus episodes of the show, isn't that bad. You know what I mean? It's trying to look at it, put it in a positive way, because obviously worst episode is a negative question, but, when there's 750 episodes, there's going to be a few misses, and The Simpsons is way more hits than duds, so credit is due to them there,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to leave on a positive note there, but other than that, I think, super fun episode. 2 great episodes, Mid-Childhood's Night Stream and Fraudcast News. Other than that, I think we're good to wrap it up. Guys, thank you as always for watching or listening, and we will catch you all really soon. I'm going to say it. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.